So there's a story going around about the Leeway social media post by CP3, told by Chris Haynes. And I am interested to fact check said story. Welcome into Clippers Talk.
Here we go, Clips fans.
Clippers talk with Adam Osland. After every game, download every pod. Clippers talks the name. He's a basketball talking golden god.
New episodes after every game on demand.
Follow Clippers Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Clippers.
Good to be with you guys. I got some time today. Clippers don't play again until Thursday. So there's time to do episodes like this, I suppose. Hope you can hear me okay. I think I have my headset plugged in. Check. I do. Okay, so I just took about 20 minutes to pull the video from the fourth quarter of the game in question here. And we're going to go through the tape. And I want to see if the narrative lines up with the video. The tape doesn't lie. This is the moment of truth. Why not? I just want to see how this goes. I'm not saying anyone's lying. We'll see what conclusion we come to here. I also want to thank, I don't remember giving anyone my P.O. box, but I must have at some point, or else this is a little bit concerning. Because earlier today, I hadn't been in my P.O. box for a while, and I got a letter from a fan and a picture from his daughter, and it was kind of heartening during this difficult season. Said, "Let's go Clippers" from Mark and his daughter Julia with the artwork here. Appreciate that. Things are bad, but in the note, Mark said, "We still believe we can get to 15 straight seasons, winning seasons, longest current streak in the NBA." So first we'll play the Chris Haynes audio that came out, I think 3 days ago. And we'll go over what he said in his explanation. Presumably, this is coming from, I don't know, CP3's side. It has to be from somebody close to the story here. He told this on Amazon Prime, and I do really like the NBA's coverage of Amazon Prime, and I'm a fan of Chris Haynes. Does a great job, and he's a really nice guy. Let's listen to this explanation of the social media post by Chris Paul.
And for more on that, we're once again joined by NBA contributor Chris Haynes. Now, Chris, clear something up for me. A few days before his release, CP3 posted a screenshot on his Instagram story with the definition of the word leeway. Looking back, what was that all about?
Yeah, so that occurred from a game against the Dallas Mavericks, their last home game they played. It was in the fourth quarter. Kawhi Leonard is on a minute restriction, and sources told me that when he was guarding Klay Thompson, he was struggling when he got into the game after sitting down for a while. He was struggling keeping up with Klay Thompson. And so they
Okay, first of all, so we're getting sources told me he was struggling. As if this is not on tape, as if we don't have the video of what occurred. I just want to hear this again.
Restriction. And sources told me that when he was guarding Klay Thompson, he was struggling when he got into the game after sitting down for a while. He was struggling keeping up with Klay Thompson. And so they
just one more time.
Sitting down for a while, he was struggling keeping up with Klay Thompson. And so there was a timeout call late in that fourth quarter. And during the fourth quarter, and during that timeout, Chris Paul went to Kawhi Leonard and said, "Hey, man, are you fresh enough? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you can stick with Klay Thompson?" And he asked the teammates, he said, "Hey, y'all might want to switch this."
So they have some footage here. I'm guessing this is from late in the fourth quarter.
Wait till he gets warm until he goes and guards Klay. Klay is killing about 5-6 threes at that point. And so they ended up switching the matchup, the assignment. And so the next day, Jeff Van Gundy, assistant coach for the Clippers, he called a meeting with Chris Paul on the plane.
I would just say this type of switch from the Clippers is not that uncommon.
And so
They switch their defense a
they
lot.
ended up switching the matchup, the assignment.
Most teams do nowadays.
So the next day, Jeff Van Gundy, assistant coach for the Clippers, he called a meeting with Chris Paul on the plane the next day, and he asked Chris Paul if he changed up the defensive assignment yesterday. And Chris said, no, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet.
Okay. The difference between I didn't change the assignment. Let's make sure we get the wording right here.
He changed up the defensive assignment. Yes.
Jeff Van Gundy's asking him, according to this report from Chris Haynes.
He called a meeting with Chris Paul on the plane the next day, and he asked Chris Paul if he changed up the defensive assignment yesterday. And Chris said, no, I didn't change up the assignment.
No, I didn't change up the assignment. Okay, just trying to make sure I quote this accurately.
I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet.
I just suggested we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi isn't warm yet. Just suggested it. That could be some ear of the beholder stuff. That's really parsing words here. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this? That strikes me as semantics here.
He changed up the defensive assignment yesterday. And Chris said, no, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet. And so I would.
So who did he suggest it to? Kawhi? The coaching staff?
Want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet. Changed up the defensive assignment.
I just want to hear it in its entirety one more time for context.
Coach of the Clippers, he called a meeting with Chris Paul on the plane the next day, and he asked Chris Paul if he changed up the defensive assignment.
This is Jeff Van Gundy asking Chris Paul
yesterday. And Chris said, no, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet. And so I was told that Jeff Van Gundy told Chris Paul, listen, you might have had leeway in other places to be able to, to change up defensive coverages, but you don't have that leeway here. And that was just one of the minor verbal incidents between Jeff Van Gundy and Chris Paul. That was one of a few in this brief span with the Clippers.
Okay, so there's a reporting by Chris Haynes. I want to see what the tape looks like with that as the background here, or in the backdrop. Because I pulled every defensive possession when Kawhi was on the floor in the fourth quarter. So there's no way I could have missed anything. Because the other reason I want to do this was I was listening to even, one of the best Clippers podcasts, if not the best. It's better than Clippers talk, obviously. What the hell am I doing here? The Lob the Jam, the podcast. They've been doing it for a long time. They're very analytical. And I love Big Shot Bob Plum. But I've heard a lot of, since this report came out, wow, Kawhi can't even guard a washed Klay Thompson now. What does that say about his defensive acumen at this point of his career? Heard that a lot. And I think even Robert Flom suggested that. So I also wanted to check on that. How much was he on Klay? And what he was, what did it look like? Okay. So just want to be accurate here. We played the entire bite from Chris Haynes on Amazon Prime. Now, we will get to the actual footage here. Every possession, defensive possession of the fourth quarter with Kawhi Leonard on the floor. Let's see if it matches the narrative and the storyline that we're getting. So there's your classic Clippers turnover leading to points going the other way. In this case, it was, I believe, a goaltend on Kawhi, who was last line of defense here, initially going for the steal on Cooper Flag and then getting the block, but no, they called a foul actually. So let's see who Kawhi is guarding here. Klay Thompson got hot at the end of the third when Kawhi wasn't on the floor. Now Kawhi is on the floor. Who is he going to? Who is he guarding? Let's see. Okay, Klay Thompson is in the near side corner. Batum is on him. So let's see who Kawhi is going to pick up. Oh, interesting. He's going over to Cooper Flag here. All right, but this is just one possession here. Klay Thompson gets a three-pointer up on the switch as Kobe Sanders comes over to help, and he was there. This is what I'm talking about in today's league, when people are heavily criticizing a good three-point shooting night by opponents. It's not always bad defense. Klay Thompson was starting to heat up at the end of the third quarter. Closest man there was Kobe Brown. Batum switched. Decently defended. Doesn't matter. Klay Thompson's getting hot. Next defensive possession. And you'll notice at some point, obviously, Kawhi on the minutes restriction still, and even if he wasn't, probably wouldn't be playing the entire fourth quarter. I mean, maybe it would be. He'll be leaving the game at some point, but this is the start of the fourth. So Kawhi matched up with who? Cooper. Same matchup in the near side corner with Nico Batum and Klay Thompson. Kawhi fights through a screen from Powell, still on Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag gets the step on him and beats a Zubats, comes over to help. Kawhi also still has good defensive position. Shuts that down. Cooper Flag spins out of it. Oh, now he's almost losing the basketball, and Nico Batum comes over to help. Let's see how this goes. And Defensive Player of the Year winner Kawhi Leonard makes a nice appearance there as he knocks the ball off of Cooper Flag, the best player on the floor this night for the Dallas Mavericks. Best player on the floor in the game, you could say, as he went for a career high, I think 35. And Kawhi took up that defensive assignment and shut him down here. Ball goes out on Cooper Flag. Help from Nico Batum as well. Next defensive possession. Who's Kawhi on? Well, still on Cooper Flag. Nico Batum is on Klay Thompson, now towards the baseline. Batum stays with him. I actually took note of this when the game was going on. I was very encouraged by the fact that Kawhi picked up the guy who was the best player on the floor in this ball game. Comes over for a little bit of help defense there. Doesn't matter. Shot drops, 89 all. Let's see again. Okay, Cooper Flag over here. Klay's over here. Excuse me, he's still in the near side corner. My footage is a little bit on the grainy side. Trying to save the upload size so I could get this on X. You could also find it there at Follow Anime. So Kawhi is camped out watching Cooper Flag on the right wing. Rightfully so. That's what you want, right? Kind of a weak foul call there. Foul on the floor. They'll inbound the basketball. It's still Batum on Klay. Kawhi comes over with the help side defense as the low man here, but he's still got an eye on Cooper Flag out there on the perimeter, but with the ball on the near sideline, he can cheat back over. Now there's a switch. Now you get one finally. Here comes CP3 on Cooper Flag. Beats the Zubats, eventually picks him up. Back outside to Klay Thompson. He actually misses a shot. This might have been the only shot he missed in the fourth quarter. Clippers end up getting the rebound. Next possession. 8:40 left here in the fourth quarter. All right, Kawhi still on Cooper Flag. Nico Batum on the far side corner now with Klay Thompson. It's clear who their assignments are. It's a soft switch here. Kawhi leaving Cooper Flag. And the Clippers do this a lot. Teams do this a lot. This is nothing out of the ordinary. Instead, he sticks Kobe Brown on him. Kawhi comes back over to help here. Fine with this. The cross-court pass, though. Cooper Flag made the right pass. They got a good look at it. I think that's Najee Marshall. Ball goes out on the Clippers. It's on inbound on the far side baseline by Dallas. Now, this was pretty poorly defended. You got to admit that. Here's Klay Thompson, Nico Batum on him. Kawhi still on Cooper Flag. This little inbound leading to an easy layup as Batum's late to recover on Klay Thompson. Love Nico Batum, but as Brian Seaman said, they're too easy. It's a 3-point game still. Let's see who's matched up with who. Well, it looks like we still have Kawhi on Cooper Flag here. Nico Batum watching Klay Thompson. I mean, okay, Klay loses Nico Batum there. Nico's defense, he's on the older side now. Still love him. Still usually always a net plus out there. You want Nico Batum in games like this, but Klay could have caught him on a back cut there for an easy one. Another possession, though, where Kawhi is not on Klay. Waiting. So a little bit of a switch here as Kawhi picked up the ball handler and CP3 is on Cooper Flag on the left wing. But Kawhi's going to recover here as Cooper Flag wants to take CP3 off the dribble baseline. Kawhi cheats over and helps. And the DPOY ends up stripping the ball from Cooper Flag. Seems good. Seems good so far. I don't know. The narrative isn't lining up yet with him on Klay Thompson. Let's see how it goes. Next defensive possession. Kawhi's about to be out of this ball game due to the minutes restriction. He gets cross-matched as they come into the front court. He's no longer on Cooper Flag. Batum went to him. Kobe Brown went to Klay Thompson. Kawhi's on Caleb Martin in the near side corner here because the Clippers switch all the time. Everybody does. When you have great perimeter shooting, it's sometimes much more advantageous to just switch instead of trying to fight through the screens and leaving a guy open for a good look. Kawhi's still coming over to help. Nico Batum is on him. Kawhi comes over probably a little bit too much as Ivica Zubac is your last line of defense here. Cooper Flag doesn't get it up. Kawhi's still there, goes for the rebound, and eventually tips it away as he's battling with Cooper Flag. Clippers ball. I don't know. Doesn't look like Kawhi has lost 5 steps like everyone's been making it out to be right now. Kawhi calling out assignments again, but a timeout was called. It looked like he was going to be matched up against Caleb Martin again. So another switch. Maybe this is Kawhi looking tired or being more tired. He took up the assignment of Cooper Flag. He did his job earlier in the quarter. And now there's a timeout at the 6:33 mark. Kawhi's hunched over. Looks a little bit exhausted. Was on the minutes restriction and just come back. Is out of the ball game from the 6:33 mark till the 2:29 mark of the fourth quarter. So it was, let's just see, for funsies. Clippers were up by 3. 6:33 mark. Kawhi comes out, comes back in, and the Clippers go from being up 94-91 to being down 101-100. 2:29 mark here of the fourth quarter. Remember, we thought Kawhi was coming in at the 3-minute mark. It looked like he was going to check in, and I guess they bought him 30 more seconds there. Now he does come in for Nico Batum. So, first defensive possession back with Kawhi Leonard. Now, who is he on? It looks like James Harden is on Cooper Flag here. Now Kawhi is on Klay Thompson. Here's Kawhi fighting through and now switching with Chris Dunn, which why wouldn't you? They were switching earlier with worse defenders. If the switch is, okay, Chris Dunn, you go chase Klay Thompson because you had better positioning, I'll take your man. That's not a problem. But he was on Klay to start the possession, to be fair. Cooper Flag being guarded by James Harden, who does a decent job driving him into help there, you could say. Cooper Flag just too damn talented. Clippers crowding the paint. Kawhi now roaming a little bit. Goes back to his man. Oh, this is a brutal one. The Clippers defense gets a little bit lost on Klay, who started hanging out, if you watch this, on the right wing deep enough, but Chris Dunn is on him. Chris Dunn at some point is going to cheat over too far, I believe. No, that's a nice move from Klay Thompson still to get him off of him. Look at the shot clock, 1.2 seconds left. And this is just a ridiculous shot over two defenders. The league has never had more high degree of difficulty shooters than it does right now. And he gets this to go. Game 6, Klay made an appearance. Even Brian Seaman had to elevate his voice for the opponent there because that's such a great shot. It's just really impressive. Klay's also one of my favorite players ever. Just because of his attitude, how he acts off the court. Love Klay Thompson. Perfectionist, really hard on himself. So now Kawhi is not matched up with Klay Thompson. Looks like, is that Najee Marshall? It is John Collins on Cooper Flag. Dunn is on Klay Thompson. Okay, 1:26 left. Kawhi stays on his man. Comes over to dig. There's a foul on the floor as Cooper Flag, as he came over to help John Collins with Cooper Flag, who gets tripped and goes to the free throw line. Next defensive possession. I trimmed the fat here. No offensive possessions. Now it's James Harden on Cooper Flag. I think Kawhi is going to be on Klay here. Yes, he picks him up in the near side corner. They're going to set multiple screens, pin downs. Kawhi is going to have to do some work here. And I do like the way he works, but it's a great effort here defensively. Unfortunately, fouls Powell as he tries to run through the screen for Klay Thompson here on the left wing. This was one that was included in the video where Chris Haynes was talking about the play. And I think just the second time that he was matched up initially on the possession here late in the fourth against Klay. Powell goes to the free throw line. I think he ended up going 1 for 2 with 58 seconds left. Neither here nor there. Kawhi ended up missing. I think it was a baseline jumper here. It was a good look. Clippers back on defense. Down by 2, 45 seconds left. James Harden's defense, admirable considering he was guarding Cooper Flag at times late in this game. So now he's going to call for the switch. He was initially on Klay Thompson. He's calling for help from John Collins here, I believe. Yes. Klay Thompson picks him up, but this isn't something crazy out of the ordinary. Was this what CP3 said to do, or is this just what the Clippers defense does all the time anyways? I don't know. I just know Kawhi was not getting cooked left and right defensively in the fourth quarter here. So that part of the narrative that people have been talking about, oh, he couldn't guard wash Klay, that doesn't seem to be the case. Cooper Flag attacks, gets fouled again, almost got it to go. This was his young career high. Now the Clippers have to foul. I wouldn't call this much of a defensive possession. Somebody's got to stop the ball. Was Kawhi going to be matched up on Klay Thompson, who has it anyways, or was it just him coming over to try to foul? As Avita Zubac, I think, eventually made the foul before Kawhi went for the steal here with 18 seconds left. And then the final possession before they have to intentionally foul again. Kawhi was initially on Klay Thompson. Klay crosses, so he calls for Batum to switch on to him. Kawhi's on Cooper Flag here. They're down by 3, 10.8 left. Ball eventually, they call a timeout here. There was another foul. Yes, here it is on the inbounds play. Kawhi is not matched up with Klay Thompson here. This is the final possession where they end up fouling, and Cooper Flag knocks down the free throws to win the game. Does that seem like it matches what we just heard? In fact, I'll play it again. I'm not, things could be misconstrued. It could be a game of telephone. You interpret something the wrong way. I'm not calling anybody a fibber or anything like that. I don't want to do that. Chris Haynes does a great job. This is more about just trying to prove that Kawhi can still defend at a pretty high level. But here's what was said here.
And for more on that, we're once again joined by NBA contributor Chris Haynes. Now, Chris, clear something up for me. A few days before his release, CP3 posted a screenshot on his Instagram story with the definition of the word leeway. Looking back, what was that all about?
Yeah, so that occurred from a game against the Dallas Mavericks, their last home game they played. It was in the fourth quarter. Kawhi Leonard is on a minute restriction, and sources told me that when he was guarding Klay Thompson, he was struggling when he got into the game after sitting down for a while. He was struggling keeping up with Klay Thompson. And so there was a timeout call late in that fourth quarter, and during the fourth quarter, and during that timeout, Chris Paul went to Kawhi Leonard and said, "Hey, man, are you fresh enough? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you can stick with Klay Thompson?" And he asked the teammates, he said, "Hey, y'all might want to switch this. Wait till he gets warm until he goes and guards."
I just don't understand. It wasn't even on Klay a lot of the time. He was on Cooper Flag to start the quarter. Late in the quarter, there were some possessions he was on Klay. There's no doubt about that. But the whole switch thing, like, they switch a lot anyways. It's just not that out of the ordinary. I don't know.
Fourth quarter, and during the fourth quarter, and during that timeout, Chris Paul went to Kawhi Leonard and said, "Hey, man, are you fresh enough? Do you feel good?"
Here's why that seems curious to me. Are you fresh enough? Do you feel good? Kawhi was fresh enough to be guarding the best player in the game, Cooper Flag, to start the fourth quarter, possession after possession, until right about the time he was about to get pulled, where there were a couple of switches. So if he was good to go against Cooper Flag, the toughest guard out there at the time, I don't know. That's just interesting to me.
Quarter, and during that timeout, Chris Paul went to Kawhi Leonard and said, "Hey, man, are you fresh enough? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you can stick with Klay Thompson?" And he asked the teammates, he said, "Hey, y'all might want to switch this. Wait till he gets warm until he goes and guards Klay."
I mean, he's talking to Kawhi about something.
Klay is killing, had about 5-6 threes at that point. And so they ended up switching the matchup, the assignment. And so the next day, Jeff Van Gundy, assistant coach for the Clippers, he called a meeting with Chris Paul on the plane the next day, and he asked Chris Paul,
if
he changed up the defensive assignment yesterday. And Chris said, "No, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested, hey, we might want to have somebody else guarding Klay right now because Kawhi is not warm yet." And so I was told that Jeff Van Gundy told Chris Paul, "Listen, you might have had leeway in other places to be able to, to change up defensive coverages, but you don't have that leeway here." And that was just one of the minor verbal incidents between Jeff Van Gundy and Chris Paul. That was one of a few in this brief span with the Clippers.
So there you have it. Does the story match the film? I know what definitely doesn't match the film. People saying Kawhi was getting cooked by a washed Klay Thompson and Kawhi's done. I know that didn't match. I don't know what was said courtside. or how it was said. I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to go through the footage and see. Because I had almost been brainwashed into thinking, yeah, Klay was going off on Kawhi. No, he wasn't. That didn't happen. We just saw the footage. He wasn't guarding him much, and when he wasn't cooking him either. If you want to say the screen from Powell that Kawhi had to fight through ended up with them getting a free throw. Okay. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it? I'll start checking out some of the comments. You're saying Chris is referring to the last 2 minutes of the fourth after he sat for 5 minutes. Yeah, that could be what is being lost in translation here. It was just that part. I don't know. I'm not like the story could be true. That could be the explanation for Leeway. I don't think posting stuff on social media is a great look still. I know some of you are like, well, it's a bad look for them to let Chris go in the middle of the night. And I can see how that's bad optics too on the Clippers' part. Could you wait till the next day? Why did it have to be right then? I also don't think it's great optics from CP3's side with him posting the definition of leeway if he was upset because according to the story there from Chris Haynes, Jeff Van Gundy told him you don't have that type of leeway. I just would say the switching that occurred later in the game to me would not necessarily say that, you know, it was because CP3 told him to or whatever, because they switch a lot anyways. Maybe that's why. That's just inconclusive to me. There's no way to know. You can take what Chris Haynes said, or you can read it differently based off of the video. I don't know. I definitely, though, would push back against anyone saying that Kawhi was getting cooked by Klay Thompson. And maybe that's small potatoes, but there was a lot of that. People are using this as evidence that, oh, Kawhi isn't good defensively anymore. I think that clearly wasn't the case. So I just thought I'd do a quick show here about it. Again, I don't want to make any definitive conclusions about what was said from CP3, what was said by the coaching staff. There's no way to know for sure. If you go with the report from Chris Haynes, okay. I'm not sure where he was getting that information, but you might be able to figure that out. I think there's blame to go around in this situation. If you want to say the Clippers handled it poorly, okay. If you want to say CP3 maybe shouldn't be making adjustments, like he's a head coach out there, and whether or not he was confronted and he said, no, I didn't make the adjustment, or what was I just suggested. No, I didn't change up the assignment. I just suggested we might do that. Well, suggesting it or saying do it, I don't. Is there much of a difference? I don't know. Clearly, with it not being the first time he was talked to about his style of leadership, it wasn't working. Because I'm pretty sure you don't make a move like this if everybody in the locker room loved what he was doing. And if everybody in the locker room is okay with a guy being sent home, that probably means it wasn't being helpful. Does that mean Chris Paul's a bad guy or a bad Clipper? Hell no. He's an all-time great Clipper. Both things can be true. He's an all-time great Clipper, and it just didn't work out the second time around. And it also doesn't mean it's his fault that they're 6-18. So I think there's a lot of nuance here, as there always is. I wish people would not take sides as much as they have. Some are saying, well, you're just taking the Clippers side. I just said, I think there is blame to go around on both sides. And I think it's legitimate criticism to say that just being sent home late at night like that could be viewed as a bad look, of course. But you also have to know how to talk to people when you're trying to help in situations. And CP3 maybe was being a little too strong with his words, and it wasn't very effective. I don't know. But I appreciate you all checking out the video with me. I am hoping, just like with CP3, apparently burying the hatchet with Blake and DJ, because they look buddy on that Zoom call, just like that relationship has been repaired. Eventually, if there's anything that needs to be repaired between him and the Clippers now, as he said, he was scarred by being let go, which seemed a little much by being sent home. But assuming that there's a lot of work to be done with him and the Clippers, hopefully just like how eventually things got to be okay with him and Blake and DJ, the same thing can happen with him in the new organization eventually, as time heals most wounds, I would say, in my experience. So I'm Adam Moslin. This has been a Clippers Talk investigation. I'll talk to you guys next time.